But in terms of, I measure happiness by the first 10 seconds when you wake up. You know, when you roll over and you're sort of like, and you can tell the difference between a Monday and a Saturday. Like, probably not now because everyone's in lockdown and shit like that. But like, you know, when you wake up on a Monday, you're like, oh, fuck, it's a Monday. Like, I don't have those days anymore. My Mondays feel like Saturdays. It's like being on holiday. You know, when you're on holiday, you don't count the days by Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You count it backwards from like the day that you landed there. You're like, oh, we've been here for 3 days, so I've got like another 4 days. That's what your life sort of gets to the point where you're actually doing something that you love and something that you're passionate about. So for happiness and measuring stick for me is that 10 seconds in the morning when you wake up and see the sun's up. Are you excited to get up or not? And I am.
Welcome back to Open Up with Lockie Samuel. It's episode 116 with Isaac John, aka Ice. My man, thank you for taking
Hey bro, what's up? 116, shit, you've been at it a while.
Yeah, man, I love it, eh? First question I always start off with, go a little bit deep straight away, is could you describe the way that you view yourself as a man and or human?
Fuck, that is deep, isn't it? You're going straight for it. Yeah, I don't know. How do I perceive myself? I feel like I remember when I was younger, I used to always hear people say like, oh, I get a kick out of helping people and also all that sort of stuff. And I remember just being a kid and being like, oh, that, like, you're full of shit. And then I used to think as like when you hear footballers talk about, yo, the best thing about football is the friends that you make and the things that you do afterwards. And I used to think, fuck, that's full of shit. And now I've got to that point in life where I'm 31 years old and those are the two things I want to be. I want to be someone that really helps people. I just want to be a good bloke, obviously. I remember my parents used to always say, I don't care how successful you are, just make sure you're a good person. And that's always been, I think you get to the age about 27, 28, and then you start to realize, oh shit, my parents didn't know what they were talking about. And this is the person I do want to be. So how do I perceive myself? I just see myself as someone that works hard and gets to do exactly what he wants to do every single day. And I know not everyone's in that position. I feel like I'm passionate about what I do. And I feel like I'm a great communicator in my sort of style where I can sort of help a lot of people in certain different ways across certain demographics. And I think my point of difference is I'm kind of unassuming. So when you see me, like I'm an Islander kid from Tukaro, I've come from football. So if you can combine those three things together, you think, oh, just like stereotypical football player and he cares about certain different things. He's an Islander, so what does he know? And then when you hear me talk about business, it's kind of like this, not shock value, but it's like, oh, what's he know about business? And I've actually never even been to university to talk about business or marketing. So I feel like my point of difference is I cover a lot of different aspects and I feel like I'm relatable in many different contexts. So I feel like that's me. Not very clear answer. But
that's a very, very clear answer. And yeah,
really?
I'd agree with great communicator.
Yeah. Talk shit.
Yeah, I can tell this is going to be easy. Nice. So you mentioned being in Tukaroa and being like a poly boy. So what was your experience through childhood, man? Like, what did you see? What did you feel? And did you feel that there wasn't much expected of you? Because I'm from South Auckland and I know that there wasn't anything expected of me. So to see you doing something like this is inspiring and it makes me believe that anything is possible.
Nah, I was sort of a little bit in a different scenario. Obviously, growing up in Toka's got a negative perception about it. Obviously, gang affiliations with like Black Power, and I remember growing up and you weren't allowed to wear red and all that sort of standard small town or lower demographic situations where color sort of matters. But I was in a different scenario where I had two very great parents. My dad was always obviously my football coach growing up, and I had a great group of mates that we always played football with, and probably Quade Cooper is probably the biggest name to come out of that group. But also, that gave us something to do on the weekend, and we had the same team growing up all this time, so we got used to winning. We won everything. So from under sixes to about under 16s, I think we lost about 3 times.
Wow.
So you got used to winning a lot, and with your bunch of group mates, and they're really good guys too. They're still my best mates now. I go back to Toke probably about once or twice a year, and it's like nothing's ever changed. But in terms of parenting, I was parented very well. I wasn't allowed to do whatever I wanted. I heard the word no a lot. If I wanted to go do something, I had to go do it myself. And like, Mum, drop me out. Can you drop me off in town? No. Like, walk, stuff like that. Oh, like we've got like midnight madness was like this thing where it's kind of like a parade thing in Toke, which is kind of like the big deal back at the time. And like, want money for it, fuck, I have to go mow the lawns, go weed the gardens, and only get like $10. So I was used to hearing the word no, but I think the best thing about growing up in a small town is you learn to use your imagination, because obviously we didn't have the access to technology that we have right now. So it was old school, like fuck, go outside and go play and then come back when the lights come on. And like when all the boys are sort of tied up, you should just sort of float about and sort of make up all these own ideas in your head. And I feel like that's been a really important part of my upbringing. But why I say we sort of touched on expectation, my dad was my coach and we were so used to winning. So I had that element of sports of going, like, you have to win. Like, this is what you have to do. But then I had my mum. So my mum's white. So she used to say, like, if you don't pass school, you can't play football. So I had this healthy little balance. I used to think it was unfair as well because I was like putting all my effort into football. But my mum's like, if you don't do well in school, you can't play with your friends. And like when you're 16, 17, you hear that sort of stuff, you're like, shit, better knuckle down. But I was lucky. I was an okay student. I didn't find school that hard, but I used to do it enough just to get by. And I just saw school as like memory retention. Like, I've got a great photographic memory. I can remember a lot of things, and that's all school was for me. Like, I just sit there, remember enough just to get by so I could play football with my mates. So I was kind of lucky when I look back on it.
That's awesome, man. How did you handle losses as someone who was so used to winning?
Pasuk, like, I reckon I cried every single day, like whatever we were playing. If I wasn't winning, if I wasn't getting my way, I like started sulking. And like I said just before, I probably used up all my tears in my first 10 years of my life. Had an older brother as well, 3 years. And obviously you've got an older brother, you know what that's like. Like dead arms every single day, but I was fucking cheeky as well. So I deserved a lot of the things that I got. But yeah, didn't take losing too well. Even PlayStation games kind of hurt me a little bit, but then I don't know, it builds up that sort of, preservation around like losing. So like we got so used to winning, and I knew what it was like to lose as well. But then I was also on the other side. I've used to hearing no from my parents when I actually thought I deserved something when I actually didn't. So if that makes sense. So,
yeah, I think that's something I've noticed. I think that's something I've noticed, and especially like with the last couple of episodes of that MJ documentary, is that the people who do great things usually have or usually aren't accepting of losses, and they don't take them very well, therefore they work harder to become winners or win more regularly.
Yeah, just to roll off the back of that, here's this fucking story. So me and Quay, when we were 5 or 6 years old, we used to have this massive fort in our playground. It's high, man. It'd be like jumping off a 2-story building, and there used to be this pole. Yeah, it's pretty high. So there's this pole, and then one of the boys got like a G-Shock watch one time, and we're timing how fast the boys were to go. This is proper country town shit. This is how much fun we were having. So we were going from the top of the pole to the bottom. It's like who could get down to the bottom to the fastest. So obviously the technique was to like let go and right at the end grab on and then touch the ground. And we used to time it. And I remember me and Quade being so competitive with each other that we both ended up jumping off. And like when you're 6 years old jumping off a 2-story building, I'm surprised. Obviously you get ground shock and stuff like that. But probably no surprise where he's ended up in his football career. And obviously I didn't have the football career that he did. But this next aspect of life is I feel like I'm going to be okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome, bro. That's definitely not something I would have done. I was too chicken. I just wanted to touch on Quade Cooper being your mate and like knowing the rap he had in New Zealand, and like I've been in Australia for most of the time that stuff happened with the Richie McCaw in New Zealand having this beef with him. How did you handle that as such a close friend, and then knowing that people were attacking him?
Yeah, like obviously you know who he is as a person, and he's jumped on my podcast as well and actually garnished a lot of fans off the back of that, because he talks about when you need Richie McCaw in the head, he goes, yeah, I need him. But then you go back to if you understood Quade as a kid and how competitive he was, we used to almost get into fights over games of touch but he sort of just maintained that competitiveness all the way. Even now, like if we went around and had a shot, like he'd want to win. Where I'm okay with losing and stuff like that now, but like he definitely wants to win, and that's just on the big stage. You accumulate this amount of pressure. You're playing the fucking All Blacks who pump you all the time, and you get an opportunity to see Richie McCaw in his head, and you want to give him a little tap on it with your knee. I can see that that stuff happens in games, and but yeah, he sort of understood the backlash of it. He was getting like death threats from all the from Kiwi fans and stuff like that over a game. But yeah, obviously, never questioned his character as a person. And people used to ask me what he's like, and I used to always sort of stick up for him. Got a few friends sort of like that as well. So I feel like it's kind of happened a few times in my career. Obviously, with Chico and Corey, they've been dragged through the media a few different times for a few different reasons as well. And starting a vlog and just sort of showing these people that these are actually just normal people, or having a long conversation via podcasts. They see that, oh, he's just a fucking normal bloke. Like we put these sports stars up on pedestals, and we have this media barrage that happens to them every now and then, and people just headline read and make perceptions off the back of that. So that was quite good to change Quade's sort of narrative. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it is what it is. It comes with the territory. You want to knee the All Black captain in the head, there's going to be a backlash. Like,
yeah,
I feel like that's common sense.
I feel on the back of that, bro, like watching from the outside, especially living in Perth and Kalgoorlie, watching all that happen, it really is just, I guess, a form of insecurity from Kiwis, because most Kiwis especially do see the All Blacks as like the pinnacle of patriotism. Like, if you want to represent New Zealand, the pinnacle is being an All Black. And so for him to be...
It's been garnished into us as a kid, do you know what I mean? So we wake up watching Weet-Bix ads, and they're covered with like great marketing from Weet-Bix. Like, you feel like if you eat Weet-Bix, you're going to be an All Black. So it's just garnished into you. Like, it's like All Blacks versus the world, and like, we're this little country of 4 million, and we're the best in the world, and we've got a 93% win rate. Of course, everyone's going to be attached themselves to that. I attach myself to that as well. So So once you go for the top, you're going to be in some trouble. There's going to be some backlash, and I don't think it's even insecurity from the New Zealand public. I just think, you need someone in the head. There's going to be a backlash. So it is what it is.
Okay, so let's fast forward to when things start to take off with you in regards to footy, man.
So I wasn't the best player in my team. Like, I was okay, but then I was the kind of kid that like, my mates started to party when I was like 13, 14, going out all the time, and I wasn't really allowed to do that. I was allowed to go to the odd party here and there. So I just started. I used to live 2 stores down from my primary school when they had a football field there. And my dad was obviously the football coach. So I had 10 footballs at home all the time. So I used to just go down to the park and just start kicking away. And obviously, being a kid that's been told to go outside all the time, I saw that as almost an outlet. And what I saw rugby league as a way to get out of my hometown, because I knew, like, I remember being in starting third form, going into high school, and the guys that were finishing high school, then seeing them after high school, like the guys who I used to think were fucking the coolest dudes at high school. I saw them outside of high school, and I'm like, oh, but you're not as cool as I first thought you were. And a lot of it goes back to watching my dad work. So in New Zealand, in Tukaro, there's a place called Kinleaf where everyone sort of works. You either work in the bush chopping down trees or work in the mill. And he just worked night shift over and over again. And I remember when he lost his job and how much like pressure like our family was under that certain time. So I just knew I just didn't want to work that job. I don't know why. I just knew I didn't want to stay in Toke, and I saw football as my way up. Got to 14, 15, started playing men's like Premier.
Wow.
Started killing that as well. And I just sort of got a bit of leverage. I got a bit of like momentum. I was like, fuck this, I'm sort of going all in as well. Signed to Parramatta when I was actually a kid first. So I used to fly over here for camps, and that gave me like a bit of a perspective as well. So like, oh shit, all this is over here. Had a few mates over here. Justin Horro, who does a bit of stuff for YKTR Sports. I used to stay at his house a lot, and obviously guys like Jared Hayne was there as well. So Justin and they all used to go out, and me and Hainsey used to sit at home, and because we weren't old enough to go out, and sort of just knocking about those types of people. 2 years later, he's playing for Australia, and then I signed for the Warriors, play for 20s, and sort of just go from there.
Yeah. And so what was that feeling like, man, getting your first game in the NRL after being a winner for so long?
So we rolled into 20s. We were expected to win. We ended up losing in the semi-finals. We had a stack side, like late Sunny Fi, Ben Mondolino. Like, I think from our starting 17, I think 16 of us went on to play NRL, or at least one game of NRL. So we had a very, very good side, and we got done in the finals from pretty much the Brisbane side over the last couple of years. So we lost a good side, but we were expected to win. So I've gone all the way through there, used to winning, and then going to there, and then I ended up debuting in 2009. But grateful for me, I debuted outside Stacey Jones. So Stacey Jones had just come back from Catalans, and this was sort of his last year. I just got a run because the team was going shit, to be honest, but debuted for the Roosters, and it's probably the only time I was nervous, because I don't really used to get nervous before games and stuff. But I remember running out, because I remember sitting there, like Mani Vatuvai was on my left and Stacey Jones was on my right, and I was thinking, what the fuck, should I even be here? And like, even though I trained with them the whole time, it was just a little bit different playing with them. But we played the Roosters, set up a pretty good try, and we got the win. So it was mad.
That's awesome, man. And
got a 3K matchy too. So when you were like 19, 20, you're getting 3K a game. It's pretty mad. You're thinking, fuck, how can I spend this? Buy stupid shit.
Yeah, how did you deal with that, man? Because like, I know for a lot of people, the relationship with money, especially if it's poor, make a lot of money, and I see this in FIFO of guys who make 200 plus K a year, just waste it all, and then never give themselves an opportunity to set up for, I guess, the long term. How did
Oh,
you
bro.
manage that?
Bro, you know what it's like when you go up in New Zealand. You don't talk about money. Like you're not sitting around a dinner table going shit. My parents, you go, it's rude to ask someone what they're on. So what I've found as I've gotten older, and I've been bad with money through my whole 20s. There's times I've had six figures in my account. Like my last time, I used it just to build businesses, and some of them failed, some of them succeeded. But I'd rather spend that money on myself. But what I found dealing with or talking to successful people, they're not afraid to talk about money. It's an open conversation. So it's hard to learn about something you never talk about. You know what I mean? So we were growing up and like mum, dad, well, fuck, do you think money grows on trees? Like stuff like when you hear stuff like that and someone's got a negative connotation towards money, you just naturally inherit that because you inherit that from your parents. So like we growing up and like you start making a little bit of money. It's not nothing hectic, but you don't really know what to do with it. You just go, fuck, let me just buy material things and that's going to equate to happiness. And then you find out it actually doesn't, or let's just go out and get on the piss. And I've got money now I can shout the bar and be that guy that like, oh, fuck, you're cool. Like, do you know what I mean? So, I wish the conversation about money had happened up a little earlier, but even when I have a conversation with my parents about money now, they've done well. They've got a few houses. They've got like a beach house in the mount. So they're actually going all right. But mum's perception of money is save. Like, put your money away, save. But that's probably like the wrong type of money education right now. So instead of having my money in savings and earning fuck all percent, it's better off moving in somewhere where it can actually grow, where you can move it into shares, or you can move it into property, or you can move it into a few different areas and get 7 to 11% growth. And you don't learn about things about compound interest and asset allocation and all this sort of stuff as well, because they can only teach you what they know, and what they know is probably taught from their parents as well. So that relationship with money has definitely changed over the past 2-3 years. One of the things I say now is I have a great relationship with money. We grow and flow together. So money is like people. You don't talk shit about money, because if you talk shit about someone, they're not going to hang around you. And you just got to have that great relationship with money, and you find it just sort of fucking pops up with you. So yeah, it's been interesting to understand and learn about. And like I'm 31 now, and I've only started learning about this in the last 2 years.
That's awesome, man. And saying that you're 31, did you have any expectations in regards to timeline? Because I felt like I've based my life and my success and my worth and my value off of being X by 30. Was there any of that for you?
Yeah, everyone's got that. So, like, obviously, when you come from a football background and you hit 30, you're like, fuck, my career's almost over. And like, when you're 18 and you go to your cousin's 30th party, you're like, fuck, you're getting old, bro. Like, do you know what I mean? It sort of gets like that. So, there's this weird timeline on this 30 mark. But what I've found when I've turned 30, or I'm 31 now, like, I feel exactly the same. And I don't fall into social pressures. I don't fall into, oh, you should be married. Like, I go back to Soak right now and like hang out, go see my mum's friends, and I've got aunties and uncles and shit like that. Like, oh, like, where's the kids? And because I've got friends that are having kids at 16, 17, they're about to start high school now. So when you come from a small town as well, everyone sort of grows up a little bit quicker. They have probably kids a little bit earlier than they should, because there's not too much that you can actually do. So I've had that sort of social pressure from two different angles, one coming from a small town and two coming from football as well. But I've never really worried about what people think about me. So I'm 31 now. In theory, I don't have any assets to my name. I've sold my house to invest into businesses. I don't have kids. I'm not engaged. I've got a girlfriend right now. So like, if you fall into social pressures, if you look at me from the outside, just purely off the stats fact, I'm 31, not married, no kids, no house, you'd assume that I'm a failure. Do you know what I mean? Yep. That's what social or pressure or social, like, that's what they expect just by reading that. But then if you dive a little deeper, I've got like people that are following me and really enjoy my content and stuff like that. Probably the happiest I've ever been, even while I was playing football, even while I was getting probably paid the highest amount of money that I've ever been paid. Because what I'm doing now, I've aligned myself with a passion. I get to wake up every single day and do exactly what I want. And when I hang around people with kids, all they do is complain about their kids, or all they do is complain about their mortgage. So I've got this freedom where, besides coronavirus, the life that I wanted to live is a life where I could go, fuck it, let's go to Bali tomorrow and let's go, and I can work from there. And I can do that right now. So that's awesome. Obviously, yeah, besides this coronavirus right now, potentially I could go anywhere I wanted in the world tomorrow. And that was always the life that I wanted to live.
Where does that come from? Was that something that was instilled in you, that I guess not caring about other people's opinions or what they think of you?
I think I was always a little bit different as a kid. In terms of like, I was okay to dream big when I was younger. I think I've always been quite independent. My mum used to say, like, I used to walk myself to kindy when I was like 3 or 4. Like, I didn't want my mum and dad to walk me to, and like, to be fair, I was only like 150 meters down the road. So I wasn't walking blocks when I was 3 years old, probably bad parenting. But yeah, like I think I've always been independent. My mum said when I was 5 or 6, I used to tell her I'll be out of the house by the time I'm 15. So there's always been that element of independence, of not being afraid of being on my own. I come across extroverted and I can have extroverted tendencies, but I actually really enjoy being on my own as well. But in terms of learning that sort of type of lifestyle, it comes from reading books. And we touched on injuries earlier off the podcast. And once I got injured, I started reading books. And once you start to read books, your like vision goes like from there to like there. You know what I mean? And you can't just learn shit on your own. Like you can't just walk around and go, oh fuck, I've come. You have to learn something from somewhere. And what we normally do as kids, like we can only process what your eyes can see. So I saw my dad working in the mill, and I saw all the older guys or uncles and that working in the bush. And what my parents used to say, like, oh, if you want good money, you have to get a trade or you have to go to university. So I saw staying in my hometown, going to university or football as my only 3 options that I could potentially do. Starting a business, fuck. What's that? Like only rich people have businesses. So those are my 3 options. And I just went for the one that seemed like more fun. So, and wasn't afraid to work for it as well. So a combination of learning from a few different other people and just experiences as well. And seeing my friends have kids when they were 16 and the pressure that they put on them, like, I'll just go, fuck, I don't want to do that. So I want to go this way.
That's awesome, bro. And man, I hardly have to ask you any questions because while you're talking, great communicator, you just answer everything I want to ask you in flow. You touched on injuries, so it's probably a good segue to that and some of the injuries you faced throughout your career, man.
Yeah, so the first one I had was I was 20 years old and we played 5 games. I played 6 games for the Warriors. So this is my second year. So I debuted 2009. This is 2010. I come into the side and we actually won 5 games in a row, and I got a lot of the credit for it because it was more so timing than anything. It wasn't actually me. So it was me, James Maloney. We won 5 games in a row and we ended up playing Penrith over there. And I remember taking a scoop from dummy half, and Petro Sivanasiva, he dived at my knee. And I remember just hearing this pop straight away. So I ended up playing for like another 10 minutes and I was running, fell over. And 20 years old, you've just come into first grade. You're still getting those matches as well. You're starting to get like a bit of press as well because the team's winning. Everything's going good. And then like someone just chops your knee and you're out for the whole season. And I remember that like it seems traumatic. Like it seemed traumatic at the time. Like in the context of the whole world, like a sore knee is actually not that bad. But the guy named Michael Luck, who played a real tough style of football. People would assume that he was dumb, but he was actually one of the smartest blokes that I'd ever met in football, and used to sit down and have a conversation with him. And I sort of talked about how unassuming I am, like the Islander football player that talks about business now. Michael Luck was like that. You watched him play, and you're like his head's always in the wrong place, getting knocked out, got stitches every single like game, like just played tough, and you're like, fuck, he must be dumb. And then you go have a coffee with him. He had the most diverse conversation. Like he could talk about 50 Cent. He could talk about fucking like stock shares. He goes, oh, I've just lost like 70K in the stock market last week. And then and I found that very, very interesting. I found that someone that could balance being a football player and the style that he played with this knowledge. That was just interesting to have a conversation with as a 20-year-old, talking to like a 27-year-old. And I was like, fuck, he's an interesting guy. So what had happened when I got injured, he actually gave me my first 3 books I should read. The first one was that It's Not About the Bike, which is Lance Armstrong. And he goes, oh, this will give you a bit of perspective. And fuck, perspective. Like, what do you know? Fuck, I've just been killing it in the NRL. Like, and I read the book, and obviously this is before he got caught for his cheating stuff, but went through cancer, had cancer in his nuts, and got that taken out. And I remember the reason I read that was because I was on the bike every single day, and I actually enjoyed riding after the back of that. But I remember going, oh shit, like the sore knee isn't actually that bad in the context of the world. And then started reading from there, and we talked about before, like, where did you learn this perspective of your lifestyle? It's from reading books, and that's probably one of the most important things that ever happened to me, getting injured.
So that's cool. Did that sort of reframe the time that you were going to spend away from football, knowing that you were killing it and knowing that you could like potentially lose that position to someone else?
Yeah, a little bit. So the next year was 2011. Was probably that was the last time the Warriors made the GF. So I had a great year. I come back round 2. So James Maloney got suspended. We played at Eden Park, and Ivan pulled me into the office and go, "Oh, we're a little bit off James Maloney. He's a great opportunity for you to take his spot." Imagine if I could have taken James Maloney's spot. It sounds funny now, but I'll go, "Yep, sweet." So we played West Tigers round 2 at Leichhardt. 5th minute, sprained my ankle. Got pulled off after about 30 minutes. Tried to play on, but just kept getting sore and sore. I got pulled off for 30 minutes. I was out for like 8 to 12 weeks. Come back, and then there was emergence of Shawnee Johnson. So while I was still injured, I still started like picking up books, and I probably read about 5 to 10 by then. And like you start to like grow up a little bit when you start to read as well. And then obviously got shipped off to England as well. So when I went to England, just nights. So 3:30 in the afternoon, pitch bike, like fucking go outside. You're like, well, you have dinner at 4:30 because there's nothing else to do. And at night time, I just started reading and just sort of accumulated like that. And then ended up getting injured again. This will flip you out. This is the story of my career. So went to Penrith. Ivan went to Penrith. I went there with there, started to kill it as well. Same sort of storyline. Ended up playing for the Kiwis. I actually got dropped to reserve grade the week before, but not through bad form. It's just because one of the Jamie Soward ended up coming back into the side. But we ended up playing for the Kiwis, like massive high. Next week I was playing reserve grade. First minute of the game, I snapped my Achilles, and I was and like I was running, no one was around me, and just went pop. And then I was like, "Fuck, what was that?" And then so you talk about emotional roller coaster. That was sort of it. So I was out for like another 9 months, but. Even though it was bad at the time, I was a little bit older. I was probably about 24 by then. I just fell back into what I knew, what got me through. So do rehab, go home, read books at night, and just kind of just grew from there, bro.
How do you, I don't know if there's like any awareness around this, but how do you keep yourself from having an expectation of, oh man, this is what my career should have been, but I'm hampered by injuries?
It's hard at the time, especially like you think of football. There's not many jobs in the world where you judge weekly, and not only are you judged by your coaches, you're judged on TV by the commentators, you're judged by fans that have never fucking played the game before, and then most of all, when you go home at night, you look yourself in the mirror. You have to judge yourself. So there's a lot of expectation that happens quickly over and over, and like just goes boom. Like if you think about a normal job, you maybe get judged maybe quarterly, like half a year, like yearly max, like and so. Yeah, like I don't know. It was hard. It was kind of hard. You kind of have to. I can understand why it happened now because I reckon if I played 150 games by then, I wouldn't have left football. I would have just stayed in football, kept doing what I was doing. But I was in that sort of not hate pile. Like I could have got contracts other places, but I got to the point where I had other interests through reading. And that I wanted to pursue other things as well. And once you're in football, it depends what kind of career you have. But there's a lot of people in football that actually don't really like football as much as people think. Yep. So we put sports up on this pedestal. We'll go, you're so lucky, you're so lucky. But once you're in it, you don't feel like you're this lucky person. Obviously, you're getting paid well, but fuck, there's so much pressure that fucking comes with it. And you see a lot of people struggle with it within football, and especially once they finish. So, yeah, I don't know. I look back, I don't have any regrets whatsoever. There's definitely times in my career where I could have gone a different direction if I'd stayed healthy. Like that Achilles one was an important one because what happened with Penrith. So I think Peter Wallace ended up doing his ACL the next week. So I would have been in, and they ended up going on this massive run towards the finals. So if you're in that team that's in the finals, obviously your value goes up. You get a lot more experience, which is more important. You played in finals games, and I missed those sort of key periods where the players that are sort of on my level started to get better and better and better, and I was just sort of stuck here rehabbing, and it kind of just moved on without me, which was just the way it is.
Yeah.
No, like not bagging anyone else. They were just in a healthy place, in a good team that started to grow. So, yeah, I don't have any resentment towards my football career whatsoever. I don't even hold I've got football jerseys. I don't hold like any sentimental value towards them whatsoever because I don't see myself as a footballer, as just a footballer. So that's just my opinion on it.
That's amazing, bro. That's probably a good segue into how did you give yourself permission as a footballer to then transition into the other interests that you had, which I guess leads into business?
Yeah, so obviously I went to Manly. So I finished Penrith. I went to Manly. We played the Auckland Nines. Tore my hammy. Fucking made of fucking plastic, me. So tore my hammy. Played one game of reserve grade. It was sort of like my last year. I was like, fuck, I'm going to have one more crack, see if I really enjoy it whatsoever. Played one game of reserve grade, and I snapped the pec off my deltoid, so I just went like that. And I remember walking into the changing rooms, and it was the first time I said it out loud. I was like, fuck, I'm done. And it was weird. Like when I said it, I just went, woof. Like it was like this weight off my shoulders. I felt fucking 10 kgs lighter, even though I was in so much pain. Might have been the painkillers I was on as well. But I remember saying for the first time out loud, like, I'm done. And then after that, I ended up getting an operation, had my arm in this thing. We just started YKTR. We were only printing on AS Color. We were selling like 10 t-shirts at a time. But I remember just sitting there and going, fuck it. Like, while I was injured, I started building a website. and just kind of just grew from there, to be honest.
That's awesome, man. Has there ever been any, I guess, have you ever had any regret around the transition, or was there any transition
Yeah,
period where it
one.
was hard?
I wish I transferred it. I wish I transitioned earlier, to be honest. I was talking about it the year before, but like everyone was saying, it was like, oh, bro, you're living the dream, you're living the dream. Like, and it was my dream as a kid. And all the way up to I was like 22, 23, I was like, fuck, I'm living my dream. And then obviously my dream changed, and I just wanted to do something. Like, you got to realize once you're in football, you're almost like, you're just told what to do all the time. So I've gone from school, like parents telling you what to do, and you go into high school, like first subjects, math, science, like you just told what to do. Left high school, went straight into football. Oh yeah, weights are at 10, like fields at 1, videos at 3. Once you go to the airport, you got to wear the grey polo and the black, and you just get like told what to do all the time. And I sort of found myself sitting in conversations with football players, and you could only talk about certain different demographics. And because I was diverse in books, I would start talking about all these different things, and people just go, shut the fuck up. Like, no, we're talking about drinking, we're talking about girls, and we're talking about gambling, which I was all a part of. I enjoyed all those aspects of having a bit of a social profile and a bit of money, and I fucking enjoy going out. I still enjoy going out. And like, I enjoyed having those conversations as well, but I just wanted to have different conversations. And I felt an element of being trapped. Like, you couldn't express yourself as a footballer. Like, you had to play a certain way. Like the style I played when I was coming up as a teen compared to like me being 26, 27, I was probably a lot more skillful as a kid, and the stuff I could do, because it kind of just gets trained out of you, and you're just all about percentages. Like, boys, if we complete 90% of our sets, it gives us this chance of winning. And like, I just kind of got bored of it, bro. And like, you listen to footballers talk after thing that we're all just saying the same shit. Everyone's saying the same shit. Everyone's speaking the same shit. Everyone's playing the same plays, but just calling them different things. And I kind of felt trapped in there for some reason. Like I wasn't like panicking or claustrophobic or anything like that, but I just knew I had a bit more to offer. And Trent Barrett, who's my coach at the time, offered me a coaching gig. I feel like I would have gone all right as a coach, to be honest. I feel like I had a good IQ. Yeah, I feel like I had a good IQ based around the sports, and I feel like I could get the best out of people. So while I was injured, I was helping the 20s, and I kind of enjoyed it. But I don't know, something was pulling me away from it, and I didn't know what it was at the time. And YKTR wasn't making clothes, and I knew I was going to go into this situation where I had fuck all money. But like, I just followed it, to be honest. Yeah, and yeah, it is what it is. Like, could have been a coach, would have been weird,
bro. And I'm sure that not caring about other people's opinions plays a massive role in that too. Was there ever any pushback from people with you being an ex-footy player having this business?
Yeah, 100. Like, first of all, because I obviously went in with my two business partners, one of the kickbacks were, oh, look at these football players. They're just trying to make extra money off fans. Like, that was the first one. The other kickbacks were from actual players. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, no one's going to buy your clothes. Like, because no one had done it before. Like, no one had started a clothing company. They've all started cafes or all started F45 gyms or stuff like that, because it was so new. And like, you look at it now, like heaps of football players trying to start clothing brands now. But at the time, it was super innovative for what we were doing. Also, when we started vlogging and started making content, they're like, Brandon, like, why? Like, we used to walk around for camera like that, and it was kind of really weird at the time. And people were like, bro, what are you doing? And then they started seeing it like play out, and they're like, oh shit, like, oh bro, can I jump in the vlog? And it was a little bit different once I started podcasting, because I had a few runs on the board. Like, I built YKTR, like we had a successful vlog page as well. And when I started podcasting, it sort of flipped. Like, oh bro, you can do that. But backlash, 100%. Whenever you start something new that's out of the norm of your herd, you're going to get backlash straight away, because all the herd is trying to do is kick you back into place. It happens in like animal world as well. Like, someone fucking acts up, boom. And that's what football felt like to me. I felt like I was just part of this herd that was talking the right lingo. I was that guy that was heavily invested into the social side of it. Group chats, I loved being in the banter and stuff like that, but I felt just super limited today. So I just wanted to express myself in a few different other areas, and been able to do that.
That's cool, man. Obviously, like, transitioning out of football and into YKTR and the business side of things, that's like, I guess, essentially pulling yourself out of the environment. But did you have to, I guess, audit your environment and surround yourself with people who are more optimistic about your potential in the business venture?
What was that? Sorry, you broke up halfway through.
Okay. Did you have to like audit your environment and either cull people or add people to improve like your chances of being successful within YKTR?
No, not really. Because one thing I knew, like I knew who my like close friends were, and I just only wanted to associate them as just being my friends. So Chico and Corey, they own a business with me. They own like 30% each of the business, so they're shareholders within the business. But I just wanted to have them as friends. So I just kept hanging around the same sort of crew. But then, like when I wasn't with them, I wasn't getting advice from them. Like I wasn't getting advice from Chico about business because he'd never done business before, and neither had I. I wasn't going to. It's like me going to Corey for about relationship advice when he's been single his whole 20s. Like, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember I read an article about this one time, and Chico blew up. He goes, "Oh, look, like he got angry at me because I said in the article, I was like, oh, I can only have like a certain amount of conversations with these two blokes. Where if I want advice about business, I'll go to talk to someone about business. It's like real estate, bro. Like everyone's got an idea about real estate. Like your uncle gives you like tips about real estate, but he's fucking still renting and never bought a house in his life. So what I figured out really, really early, and this is what you kind of get to, like I don't use my same circle as my like port of call for everything. And I just want Chico to be my friends, and we'll build this business up. And I'll do all the work, but I just want you guys to be my friends, and let's just fuck around and still have a good time. But when I was living out in Penrith at the time when I started to build YKTR, had no money, couldn't really go anywhere, but all I would do was just listen to fucking Gary Vee, just Gary Vee over and over and over again. And if you listen to someone that's motivational, if you listen to someone that's sort of motivational or the right guy or that one person that you should align yourself with. Oh wait, hold up. Yo. Yeah. So obviously, I knew from an early stage that like I just didn't need these boys for business advice. I needed someone that actually built a business. So I latched on to Gary Vee. I still latch on to Gary Vee. Everything I say is sort of paraphrased off the back of things that he said, but then actually gone out and built it off the back of his advice. And then I just say the same shit. So pretty funny. People go, "Oh, you're smart," but I'm actually just saying the same shit that he says.
How do you have the confidence to try something new, man? Where does that come from? Because most people live in a state of fear and never try something new, and they stay in the comfort zone.
Because I don't give a fuck if I fail or not. That's probably like that's the most important one. Like I've started businesses and they failed. Like we started Tech Project, didn't really work out, and like people are, what happened to Tech Project? All right, let me do a podcast. This is the reason why Tech Project failed, because we fell into social pressures of pricing it at a point where it wasn't sustainable for the business to grow, and we didn't have money for it to grow, and that's why it's out of business. And I think people really resonate with that because they're afraid to put their like hours or their flaws or their battle scars at the forefront so other people can learn from it. And bro, it's one of the most when I talked about when I snapped my pack and I'm like, the first time I said it out loud, like I actually want to quit football. This is the other version of it. Like if you fail, fuck it, who cares? Like, and you learn that. I remember the best analogy I can give is the movie on 8 Mile when Eminem's rapping. And then in that last battle, he just takes the piss out of himself, and then he gives the mic back to Papa Doc, and Papa Doc's like, "You got nothing to say." So it comes back from not giving a fuck if you foul or not. But the other one is self-awareness. So like boys used to pay me out, like wasn't the best tackler in football. Like, oh, you can't tackle. So if you take the piss out of yourself that you can't tackle, like, and then people go to sprayer, it's almost like obvious. They're almost saying like they're like, oh yeah, like I've already just said that.
Yeah.
So having the awareness or self-awareness to understand that people are going to fail, and I'm going to be one of them. You're going to be one of them, but just putting it out there so other people can learn. So that's the old theory.
That's awesome, bro. I think we'll jump into a few wrap-up questions, and just to respect your time and old tradie mate coming in the background.
Yeah.
And knowing everything that you've been through, all the injuries and the transition, YKTR, the podcast now, what would you say your quality of life is like now, bro?
Love it. Great quality of life. Obviously, I like to be a little bit more healthier, and that's like my own fault. Like I'll probably put on a bit more weight than I need to, and that's an important part of being healthy. Is when I exercise and when I read books, and when I'm learning, I feel great, and the business just sort of grows with that. But in terms of, I measure happiness by the first 10 seconds. Well, when you wake up, when you roll over and you sort of like, and you can tell the difference between a Monday and a Saturday. Like probably not now because everyone's in lockdown and shit like that. But like, when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh fuck, it's a Monday. Like I don't have those days anymore. My Mondays feel like Saturdays. It's like being on holiday. When you're on holiday, you don't count the days by Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You count it backwards from like the day that you landed there. You're like, oh, we've been here for 3 days, so I've got like another 4 days. That's what your life sort of gets to the point where you're actually doing something that you love and something that you're passionate about. So for happiness, and measuring stick for me is that 10 seconds in the morning when you wake up and see the sun's up. Are you excited to get up or not? And I am.
That's cool. I've never heard that before. What have you added to your life or removed from it to improve the quality of it?
I don't hang around too many people. I got my friends, probably got about 4 or 5 friends that I hang around with. Obviously, I give back a lot more. That's been super important for me. I believe in the law of 33%. So you hang around 30, like a third of the people that you hang around with on the same level as you. So my friends, obviously Chick and Corey, they're on the same level as me. My expectation for them is just friendship, laughter, and good times, nothing else. Maybe a shoulder to moan about some certain stuff like that as well. I believe in hanging around a third of people that are smarter than you. I do that through podcasting and books. And I believe in hanging around the people like less fortunate than you in some way that you can help. And that's the reason why I started a podcast. It's the reason why I do all these sorts of things, because I feel I can help a lot of people as well. So there's a healthy little balance of, I'm not just hanging around the same people all the time. I'm doing the same shit. It becomes mundane and boring. I'm hanging around my friends at the same level, listen to people that are smarter than me, and trying to help people as well. So that's a healthy balance for me.
It's really clear. Thank you. What are you most grateful for right now, bro?
Probably. What am I most grateful for? That I've got a job. I've got people hitting me up every single day saying I've lost my job. Like, what can I do? It's only a small one, but like it's a job that I've created. Like 3 years ago, this job didn't even exist, and have the ability to be able to scale out and hire people. It's been important for me. I've got an office that's a couple streets over from my house, so I can just walk here every single day. I'm not breaking any of the sort of quarantine laws and stuff like that. I think I'm grateful for that.
That's awesome, bro. Last question. If you had the chance to put a message on a billboard somewhere where you know thousands of people see it every day, what would that message be?
Is this a Tim Ferriss question?
Tim Ferriss, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think anyone would ever ask me that, but I read a quote yesterday that I've got from Aristotle. If you want to lead the orchestra, you got to turn your back on the crowd. And if you looked at anything that I've done in the course of my whole life, like Toke, instead of me going out to work in the bush and stuff like that, I turned my back on the crowd and went somewhere else. Football was just meant to be this cliche footballer. Then I turned my back on the crowd and do something else as well. So someone asked me what the quote of the day was just randomly, and that was my one that come to my head. So that'd be it, I reckon. Or jump online and buy some clothes. That'll be my.
I feel like that quote represents you well too, man.
Yeah.
To wrap up, bro, thank you for making time to do this. Thank you for making time to do other people's podcasts too. But most importantly, thank you for going through everything that you've been through, the injuries, the transition, the business. Now, I guess, providing your services, especially with the podcast, expanding people's funnel so that they do diversify like you have.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. I'm an open book, man. It's easy. It's easy to read.
Thank you so much, brother.
All right, bro. See you later.